I'm Bill Garrity. I'm the University Librarian and Vice Provost of Digital Scholarship. Thank you for being here this afternoon as we celebrate the 2026 Lang Prize winners and the 10th anniversary of this prize. Before we begin, we should take a moment to acknowledge the land on which we are gathered. For thousands of years, this land has been the home of the Putwin people. Today, there are 3 federally recognized Putwin tribes: the Cachildehe Band of Wintun Indians of the Calusa Indian Community, the Quetzaldehe Wintun Nation, and the Yokadehe Wintun Nation. The Putwin people have remained committed to the stewardship of this land over many centuries. It has been cherished and protected as the elders have instructed the young through the generations. We are honored and grateful to be here today on their traditional lands. So the Norma J. Lang Prize for Undergraduate Information Research recognizes students who have made exemplary use of library resources and services for their research and class projects. By highlighting excellence in undergraduate research, we hope to inspire more students to make use of the expertise and resources of the library to advance their success. I want to thank and welcome all the students who applied, the committee that judged the applications, the library team that organized this event, my colleague deans and library leadership board members who are here, the Lang family, and of course the prize recipients and their families. So what does this prize mean for the library? It means that we are not just a witness to the student academic accomplishment, but a participant in their success. We see them during orientation. Sometimes we see them on their tours before they decide to come to UC Davis. We work with them during their studies. And today we recognize the most accomplished among them for their use of library expertise and resources. We celebrate their achievement as these students realize their potential not just to learn, but to contribute new knowledge in their fields of study. For me and my colleagues, this is actually one of the culminating events of the academic year and a wonderful closure to that period. Now I want to welcome Andy Lang, the nephew of the late Professor Emerita Norma Lang, for whom this prize is named. But first, Professor Lang taught botany here at UC Davis for nearly 30 years. She is remembered for her 2 passions: her dedication to her students and her love of the research process. We were able to create this prize thanks to the generous gift that she left the library. Andy here is our invaluable partner in keeping this prize alive as a befitting way to honor her aunt's wishes and memory. We're really honored to have him here on this significant event as we celebrate this 10th cohort of Lang Prize winners. So Andy, you want to come up here and tell us a little bit about your aunt?
Bill, thanks a lot. I appreciate that introduction. Are most of you, maybe this is your first time? How many people this is your first time at this event? Good, because the remarks I'm going to make, and I'm going to make them very quick, I just felt a raindrop. The remarks I'm going to make are, I've repeated them largely every year, but it's important you know some of the background. First of all, special thanks to Bill Garrity and the library staff. What they've done over the 10 years that this prize has been in existence has just been absolutely phenomenal and a great tribute and legacy for my late aunt, Dr. Norma J. Lang. And I want to acknowledge if there are faculty members here, they're part of the group that's been very supportive of making this prize the success that it's been, because they lend their time, their support, their guidance, their review of papers to help us get to the point where we can award these prizes. I make an effort to read all of the papers every year. I must say that goes over my head. I'm just overwhelmed by the depth of knowledge that the research work demonstrates by these students. The collaboration of students, professors, mentors, university leadership is just phenomenal. It's a wonderful tribute to my late aunt. if she could be with us, she'd be so pleased and honored by what this organization, the Shields Library and the faculty and administration university have done to create enormous value out of the gift that she's made. I'm not going to go into a lot of her background. I was telling others earlier, small family. My mother was an only child. My father had one sister, who was Aunt Norma. So I don't have a very large family. And I made it an effort later in my life, because I didn't really know my aunt and I didn't have a lot of relatives. I want to spend some time with her. So I used to come out here, largely after she had retired from being a professor, and got to know her very well, and we had a lot of memorable times together. She went to High State University, where she got her master's in biology, and then on to Indiana for her doctorate, and then did some postdoctorate work at a fabulous school in Austin, Texas, where I happen to have graduated from, and then got an assistant professorship at UC Davis and spent 30 years here doing that work. And as Bill pointed out, her love was her students and research, and she had some notable sabbaticals in her research work. As a professor, she was known to be a bit edgy, but she was demanding. And for those students who responded to wanting to learn and interest in research, they developed great bonds. After retiring from teaching here at the university, she didn't quit. She went into doing a lot of voluntary work, particularly helping women who didn't speak English as a first language, and she worked through the Woodlands Library to help that out. And that was just part of her. And one of the things that she and I talked a fair amount about was her desire to give back from an institution that had given her so much, and give back to a society that had helped her so much. So she wanted to carry on with that. In the interest of time and to keep things moving, hopefully we're not going to get any more rain than we're currently getting, and we can carry on. So I don't know who the next one is, but I want to thank all of you. I want to thank the students who have put their time and efforts into this and continue to make it such a notable, recognized research effort. I want to thank you for all that. And Bill, back to you.
Thank you, Andrew.
I forgot one very
Oh, you did forget something.
something very important. Don't go anywhere. In the context of giving back, I have made a decision this year. I'm making a nice, sizable contribution to the Lang Prize to help it continue to grow and blossom. And as I've done every year, I want to encourage the students, all of these people up here on the board that have gained so much from the university and what it's provided them, to think about their abilities to return something back. And I hope that students, faculty, friends will do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Andy, we're very, very touched by your support of the prize, including your new support tonight. Thank you very much. It's tremendous. I can imagine the pride your aunt would feel in looking at this gallery of 60 winners so far over the previous 9 years of the prize. So thank you very, very much. Thank you. Now I want to introduce my boss, the Provost, to offer some campus perspective. Mary Croughan has served as UC Davis's Provost and Executive Vice Chancellor since July 2020, following more than 35 years in the University of California system as a faculty member and senior leader of the system. A lifelong Aggie, she earned her BS in Community Health from UC Davis and her PhD in Epidemiology from the Johns Hopkins University. And her career has included service as a faculty member of the University of San Francisco School of Medicine, leadership of the UC System-Wide Academic Senate, service at the University of California Office of the President, and senior research leadership at UNLV. Mary?
Are we staying outside?
We are going to stay outside.
Okay. So, good afternoon, and I hope it is okay with the rain that seems to be coming a little bit more frequently. Andy, I want to thank you so much for your support of this prize, for being here, and also for the monetary support to add to the important legacy gift of your Aunt Norma as well. So what a joy it is to celebrate our incredible undergraduates and to carry on the legacy of Norma Lang, Professor Emerita of Botany here at UC Davis. Professor Lang was a pioneer, exploring and mapping an uncharted world using a transmission electron microscope. We just abbreviate those TEM now. She once said that when she investigated anything internally, she knew that she was the first person on the earth to get to see it. That's a pretty amazing feeling. She said it was like discovering the Pacific Ocean every day. And UC Davis was very fortunate to recruit her in 1963, and she brought her own passion for learning to our campus. After retiring in 1991, Professor Lang shared a story during an interview about an undergraduate student, William Gerwick, who told her he became fascinated by the iridescence he observed in algae during a childhood Boy Scout trip to the ocean. Professor Lang taught him how to use that TEM and encouraged his exploration. William co-authored his first paper as an undergraduate alongside Professor Lang. For those who don't know, it used to be incredibly rare for an undergraduate to have a publication. So Professor Lang was ahead of her time in that as well. Gerwick went on to earn a PhD at the Scripps Institution of Oceanography, one of the premier institutions in the country. Today, William is a distinguished professor of oceanography and pharmaceutical sciences at UC San Diego. He continues to study marine algae and cyanobacteria, seeking treatments for cancer, inflammation, and infectious diseases. Professor Gerwick has published nearly 500 papers, and he holds 26 patents, and he attributes that to his work with Professor Norma Lang. I mentioned Professor Gerwick because Professor Lang saw something in him, a curiosity that could lead to new discoveries. She nurtured his interest and encouraged him to get involved with research as an undergraduate. At a time when the value of university research, as in now, is being questioned and funding is being cut, it is vital for us to encourage our undergraduates to be involved in research and for all of us to talk how research improves our everyday lives. It is because of university-led research that we cultivate more resilient crops, create modern transportation systems, discover and track emerging health threats, and develop medical treatments that improve human and animal health. As a faculty member myself and as a principal investigator on multiple federal research grants over the years, I have personally seen the difference that federally funded, university-led research makes in the lives of individuals. So I am so proud of what we do here at UC Davis, and I am thrilled that we can support the research of our undergraduates in Professor Lang's name. I want to say to our Lang Prize winners, some of you are seated on this side too. I'm sorry I keep looking this direction first. I just realized there's name tags. Whoop! Name tags of students on the right. I think I got it. Sorry, Bill. I can shout loud enough if you want. Okay.
She can shout.
I can shout. They unfortunately know that. But I want to say to our Lang Prize winners, Alyssa, Angelina, Sofia, Camila, Ruth, and Rianna, congratulations and thank you for being curious. Your projects represent the exciting depth and breadth of research taking place at UC Davis, spanning social sciences, engineering, math, education, arts, and the humanities. I know these drops are getting bigger, I can feel it, but I want to thank our faculty, our librarians, writing instructors, and other mentors for their exceptional work and fantastic support of our students. The winners' application essays clearly demonstrate what a tremendous impact our faculty and staff have on our students. And again, my heartfelt thanks to Andy Lang and all of Professor Lang's family. I will now know that it's you, for entrusting UC Davis to carry forward her extraordinary legacy. It is an honor. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to make a leadership call. We're going to plow ahead because it's still sprinkling and we have the turkey out. Alyssa, you're on next.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Alyssa McManus. I'm head of student services at the library and chair of the Lang Prize for Undergraduate Information Research. It is a privilege to be here for the 10th anniversary of the Lang Prize. I'm honored to have served as the prize chair for the past 5 years. And I want to take a moment to acknowledge my library predecessors who worked with Andy Lang to launch the award 10 years ago. Now, before we hear from our student winners, I want to thank our prize reviewers, both those of whom have been with us for past competitions as well as our new reviewers. As I read through the reflective essays, I was impressed by how thoughtfully the students approached their library research process, and equally impressed by the different ways that all of the award winners were helped by UC Davis librarians, including Sheena Campbell, William Cuthbertson, Eric Fossack, and Ruth Gustafson. In addition, I gratefully acknowledge the library team who worked on today's event, and thank you to the Lang family for your generous gift to support these amazing students who use the library to do information research. And now we'll hear from our prize recipients. Each student will give a brief overview of their project, and if you want to know more about the students' projects, you can find them on our library's website. To begin the award presentation, I'm pleased to present the third place award in Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences, and I would like to ask Rianna Herrera to come to the podium. Rianna is majoring in sociology. Her honors thesis is titled Obligations and Opportunities, a qualitative analysis of Filipinx Americans' aspirations for higher education and mobility. Rianna's sponsor is Dr. Erin Hamilton from the Sociology Department. Rianna, would you please come to the podium? Here you are.
Hi, I'll try to make this as quick as I can. First, I want to thank my friends and family for their incredible support and encouragement, my sponsor, Professor Erin Hamilton, and my thesis advisor, Professor Kim Shulman, for their endless amount of feedback and guidance, and the UC Davis Library for their abundance of resources for students such as myself who have never undertaken a project like this before. I also want to thank the Lang Prize Committee for their incredible award, which is an acknowledgement of my growth and capabilities, not only as a student, but as a researcher as well. For my honors thesis, I knew I wanted to focus on the intersection of gender, race, ethnicity, and education. As a second-generation Filipina American myself, I decided to focus on Filipinx Americans since little research has explored their educational aspirations, which have important implications for their educational trajectories and future participation in the workforce. Given that family has been found to be one of the most influential factors in informing youth's aspirations, my research focused on how gendered family expectations shape both Filipina and gender nonconforming, or GNC, Filipinx Americans' aspirations for their education and mobility. Because Filipinx Americans are often lumped under the homogenizing label of Asian American in current literature, I had to be very intentional when not just what I was searching for, but also how I was searching for it. Luckily, William Cuthbertson, who I believe is in the audience right now, okay, I see him, okay. One of the librarians gave a presentation to the honors thesis class on how to navigate the library's webpage, which has so many more resources than you would think. From here, I was able to use the UC Davis Library in order to gather research articles for my project, including international studies on college students in the Philippines. By comparing and contrasting the current literature to my findings from quantitative interviews with Filipinx American college students, I found that families often encourage their children to pursue financially stable careers. Filipina and GNC Filipinx Americans' majors and career decisions were influenced by the expectation that they would care for their aging family members in the future. Notably, families in America also encouraged their children to pursue careers which would be personally fulfilling, differing from international research which found that parents in the Philippines often chose or limited their children's major and career choices. Without being able to access these various resources, both within and outside of the US, this project would not be where it is today, and the UC Davis Library made it all possible. While the research process can feel daunting at times, there will always be resources to help you along the way. This experience has challenged me to examine the world in critical and creative ways. As someone who is going to attend law school in the near future, I know that the lessons and skills I've learned from this process will help me to serve my communities, not only as a practicing attorney, but also as a legal scholar and producer of new knowledge. Thank you.
Congratulations. Okay. Here we go. Next, I present the second place award in Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences, and I would like to invite Sofia Wright to the podium. Sofia is majoring in human development. Her paper is titled Disrupting Carceral Logics in Schools, Restorative Justice, Transformative Justice, and the Gap Between Intended and Actual Outcomes. Sophia's sponsor is Dr. Brendan Johnson from the Writing Center. Sofia?
Hello. What a privilege to be here. Even just the opportunity to submit my work for this prestigious award is an honor and a privilege. And being recognized like this for my paper with these other incredibly talented researchers and writers is not something I imagined for myself. But here we are. I put a lot of heart into this paper, focusing on carceral logics in schools and the implementation of restorative justice and transformative justice. Carceral logics is the ideology that allows and normalizes constant surveillance, forced compliance, exclusionary punishment, and the policing of children. The school-to-prison pipeline is a direct result of carceral logics in that it pushes students out of school and into the criminal legal system. Restorative justice is an approach to harm that seeks to repair relationships between people, and transformative justice is an approach to harm that seeks to repair the systems that made harm possible in the first place. So I asked whether these restorative approaches actually change the patterns of punishment and exclusion that exist in schools. And more specifically, I looked at whether schools are truly transforming how they respond to harm, or whether in some cases, simply adopting the new restorative language while the same punitive culture continues underneath it. I reviewed 7 studies that used a range of methods, from randomized controlled trials to critical ethnography, and organized what I found around 3 themes: race and racism, disability and educational access, and relationships and belonging. Some schools did see real improvements in the overall learning environment and reductions in suspensions, but those gains were uneven. Black students frequently saw far fewer benefits than their peers, and students with disabilities were left out of suspension reductions entirely. Arrests and academic outcomes did not improve, even when other measures looked better. The research pointed toward a key distinction. There is a real difference between restorative justice, which is repairing harm between people, and transformative justice, which changes the structural conditions that produced harm in the first place. Schools that adopted restorative practices without that deeper transformative commitment often ended up with that new layer of procedure sitting on top of those same punitive foundations. This project was important to me because I am formerly incarcerated and have firsthand experience with the school-to-prison pipeline, which partly explains why standing here wasn't something I ever imagined. I'm also proud. Thank you. I'm also a proud UC Davis scholar, underground scholar. We are a community committed to reversing that pipeline for others while actively challenging the stigma we face. So I came to this topic with lived experience and real investment and understanding how these systems shape the lives of young people. And this recognition means something greater to me than the award itself. It stands as a reminder that our success is not meaningful because we achieved despite our most challenging experiences, but because those very experiences strengthen what we are capable of contributing. And I also wanted the research to do more than just reflect my own experience. I wanted to let the scholarship speak. And as I uncovered the research, the glare of how uneven the outcomes were concerned me deeply. It made the project feel even more urgent because it showed that even well-intentioned reforms often still leave the most marginalized students behind. The UC Davis Library played a huge role in my research. I spent a lot of time there, working through the databases and testing search terms and building a research foundation. That process taught me that strong research depends on the right language, the right databases, and the willingness to revise your question when the evidence leads you somewhere unexpected. Librarian Sheena Campbell was instrumental in that process. She introduced to me strategies for identifying key terms and choosing the right subject databases, pointing me toward EBSCO Host Education Source, which became central to this project. I also used PsycInfo, Eric, and Alyssa, and together those resources helped me build a set of sources that were methodologically diverse, yet in conversation with each other. My instructor, Dr. Brendan Johnston, was essential to this project. Through ongoing dialogue with him, my research questions sharpened from a broad instinct into something I could pursue with precision and purpose. He also introduced me to tools like the research matrix, which gave me a more structured way to analyze and compare the literature. And with that process, the themes revealed themselves like magic. When the paper was finished, it was he who encouraged me to submit it. And I hear that he has quite a few students who have won this award. Perhaps a raise is in order for the doctor. Together, Sheena and Dr. Johnston modeled for me that research is active and flexible, that the question you start with is not always the question you end with, and that is not a weakness, that's the point. Sometimes the questions we need to ask in order to create real change only become visible once you begin investigating. That lesson has only strengthened my resolve to keep working in education and justice-oriented spaces, where asking the right question can make all the difference. Thank you again for this incredible honor. Thank you to the Lang family, the Lang Prize Committee, the UC Davis Library, and Sheena. Thank you to Dr. Johnston for your encouragement, to underground scholars for having my back. Thank you to my family for being there for me through it all. And thank you most of all to my husband, Sean, for being my rock while I reach for the stars. I hope that my children can see themselves in me and know that where they come from does not limit who they are capable of becoming. Thank you. Love you guys too.
Thank you, Sophia. And then finally, I'm pleased to present the first place award in Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences to Alyssa Linehan. Alyssa is a neurobiology, physiology, and behavior major and receives the award for her paper, Racial Disparities in Pain Management, Exploring the Causes and Potential Solutions. Alyssa's sponsor is Dr. Lisa Sperber from the Writing Center. Alyssa, I welcome you to the podium.
Ooh, it's wet. Okay. Hello, everyone. I want to start off by saying thank you so much to the Lang family, and thank you so much to the UC Davis Library staff and the Lang Prize Committee for allowing me the privilege to have my work published to share with others, and the honor of being here today with all of these amazing students. I also want to say thank you so much, Dr. Lisa Sperber, for the generous guidance you provided me throughout the entire process of writing my paper. I see you. Thank you so much. I began writing my literature review, Racial Disparities in Pain Management, Exploring the Causes and Potential Solutions, back in fall 2025 as a part of Dr. Sperber's UWP 104F, Writing in the Health Professions class. While I was aware of the extensive documentation of Black patients receiving inadequate pain management and less opioids in comparison to their white counterparts, I was deeply unsettled that I knew little about any mainstream interventions that had actually been implemented to address this injustice. I knew I needed to do extensive research to write a literature review that effectively explored the core factors that perpetuate these disparities, as well as the interventions that could be implemented to alleviate them. However, it was my first time having to do this type of research for a paper, so I was not quite sure where to begin. It was thanks to a presentation by librarian Eric Fausak that I was able to learn how to properly navigate research databases like PubMed and Scopus, and learn how to get the most out of the library's vast array of resources to try and find some answers to my questions. What I found was that alleviating these disparities requires a much more nuanced approach than what I had initially thought. When I first started researching, I had assumed that this was a relatively simple issue with a relatively simple solution. Healthcare providers' implicit biases were impacting their treatment decisions, so we just need to make providers aware of those biases and they should correct their behaviors accordingly. After amassing a large array of sources that aligned with my initial assumptions, I was very thrown off when I encountered a study that actually went against the general body of research that I was finding. I found some study results that indicated Black patients' pain was actually being overestimated in comparison to white patients, and white physicians were actually overprescribing opioids to Black patients. It appeared that as topics of racial disparities have become a more mainstream focus in our culture, many physicians try to balance their consciousness of racial disparities in pain management with their awareness of the opioid epidemic. Recognizing the possibility of overcorrection for known biases prompted me to shift my research approach to look for more structured bias interventions that centered around individualized feedback and building mindfulness skills. This intervention approach allows healthcare providers to maintain critical awareness of their own biases without them having any functional impact on their patient assessment and treatment decisions. Learning to contextualize seemingly contradictory findings to better understand the complexity of social issues in writing this paper has fundamentally changed how I digest new information. Being able to synthesize connections for myself across different research papers has empowered me to be a more open-minded and critical thinker. Building on these analytic skills is so incredibly important to me, not just as a student, but as an aspiring physician. I'm so grateful that I've had the opportunity to learn and research under the guidance of the UC Davis Library and instructional staff, so that I can build on these skills that would allow me to uphold the commitment to provide socially aware and conscientious care as a healthcare provider, and allow me to contribute to important conversations on equitable patient care. Thank you so much.
Oh, there she is. Oh, there she is. Okay, and now we're moving on to the Lang Prize Award for Science, Engineering, and Mathematics. The third place award goes to Ruth Selvaraj, who could not be here today. Ruth, a biological sciences major, wrote a review of literature on the effectiveness and ethical concerns of AI chatbots. Ruth's sponsor is also Dr. Brendan Johnston from the Writing Center. Now, the second place winner in Science, Engineering, and Math category is Camila Cancino. Camila is majoring in environmental science and management. And for her final class project, Camila turned a sparse, inaccurate Wikipedia page on the poorly documented Cuban dogfish, Squalus cubensis, into a comprehensive, verifiable source. Camila's sponsor is Dr. John Durand, a senior researcher in the UC Davis Center for Watershed Sciences. Camila?
Hello. I would first like to thank everyone who is here to support me, including my friends and my family. I would also like to thank my Professor John Durand, who is unfortunately not here, but he is here in spirit. He's alive. He's just doing research at the Bodega Lab. I'm sorry. And I would also like to thank the Lang family and the Lang committee. Thank you so much for supporting me and supporting all of my wonderful comrades in arms and research, and for this prize. Thank you so much. And like was mentioned earlier, my project was focused on writing a Wikipedia page, I'm sure many of you know what that is, where I collected research that was previously established, just was not really, no one really knew how to look for it or how to find it. And my job was to do that and to publish it for everyone now. Everyone in the audience can go ahead and look for it. And lastly, I'm gonna make it pretty short, it's kind of raining out here. I would lastly like to thank Ruth Gustafsson so much for helping me write this paper. Without her help, I would not have been able to know how to use the search engines and how to really effectively find all of the information that I needed in order for me to publish and write this paper. And thank you very much for this award, and have a wonderful day.
And then finally, I'm pleased to present Angelina Ong with the first place in Science, Engineering, and Math category. Angelina, a molecular and medical microbiology major, created a vector-borne disease control plan for malaria titled On the Brink of Elimination, Preventing the Resurgence of drug-resistant malaria. Angelina's sponsor is Dr. Lisa Bacon, I hope I'm saying that correctly, from the Department of Entomology and Nematology. Angelina, could you please come to the podium? There you go.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me today on this lovely Wednesday afternoon. I'm so honored to be here and to be standing among so many great researchers. I don't know how I can top this off with the last speaker. For just a moment, I want to take you to another place, one where the humid air hugs your skin like a warm blanket, where the calls of birds and monkeys echo throughout the treetops. You are standing in the tropics of Southeast Asia, specifically Cambodia, or known as the Kingdom of Wonder. But this place doesn't hold just wonders. There are also dangers, both seen and unseen. One such danger is the mosquito. A bite may trigger deep chills within the bones, joined by these brutal fever cycles. You take a breath of air, and yet you still suffocate, because in your veins flows a parasite that consumes your red blood cells, leaving destruction in its wake. This is malaria. It has a cure, but not for long. Drug-resistant renders our current treatments useless, thereby threatening to undo all progress. The looming urgency of drug resistance moved me to write a 12-page disease control plan similar to the World Health Organization. But what inspired me to focus on malaria was the mosquito story that you just heard, the story of my father. 50 years ago, communism took over Cambodia. In a delusional attempt to usher in a golden age, the communists not only forced everyone out of their homes and into the fields, but they also purged intellectuals in what is now known as the Cambodian genocide. Separated from his family as a child, my father suffered through forced labor and starvation in concentration camps. He witnessed desperation turn to betrayal, along with the desecration of sacred temple grounds into sites of torture. As if that wasn't enough, malaria only intensified the suffering by weakening the body from within, twisting the knife, so to speak. We see how violence disrupts the lives of ordinary people in the atrocities of war today, and just to name a few examples, Russia versus Ukraine, Israel versus Palestine, and Thailand versus Cambodia, where just last summer, my relatives fled from the border to escape the Thai bombings. We see how chaos destroys the development and infrastructure, displacing families on both sides into poverty. Meanwhile, disease festers in the background and circulates, and with every new infection, drug resistance spreads. So, as I was writing this disease control plan of mine, several thoughts lingered. How could I create a plan that is not only realistic and cost-effective, but also gives people, ordinary, everyday people, the agency over their own fates? I tried to find the answer in a single book or article, but I quickly found that no such document existed. This is where the library comes in. I used the diverse resource availability to weave together bits and pieces here and there. And without the open, unrestricted information access granted by a library, creating a disease control plan would have been impossible. Of course, I couldn't have done this without the human element, the wisdom of experts before me whose knowledge far exceeds my own. I'd like to acknowledge these people. Some present in this very room today, though unfortunately we don't have enough time to name them all. So thank you to, first of all, the Lang family, the committee, and the staff for setting up this event, for giving me the opportunity to share my story and produce something new. To Dr. Lisa Bike for mentoring me through the writing process as an expert in mosquito biology. To Dr. Anton Cornell for his talks on malaria. To our wonderful librarians, Ruth and Eric, for teaching me how to search the catalog. And finally, to my father, sitting in the back row, for not only sharing his experiences with me, but also raising me to pursue the American dream and become the strong and optimistic researcher that I am today. Thank you.
I want to thank you again for joining us today to recognize and celebrate the remarkable achievement of these 6 students. And then I know that the weather has not been cooperating too well, but I did want to point out the quotes from our winners over here on the left. And then also in honor of the 10th anniversary year, we also invite you to peruse the, well, maybe come back, peruse the wide range of undergraduate research that the Lang Prize has recognized over the past decade. And we have a slideshow of testimonials from 60 past prize recipients, which is really remarkable. And then our 2026 prize recipients are joining an impressive cohort indeed. Congratulations to you all. So we'll do a quick round of applause for our winners. And then lastly, coming back to refreshments here, We are going to have refreshments, but that part of our ceremony is going to move indoors to lecture room 167. And I don't know, Bill, Bill is going to lead the way to the refreshments. I hope you will stay to join us for that part of the ceremony. Thank you, everyone, so much for coming, being here, and supporting the students.
And finally, I want to recognize Alesia here for being the guiding light and motivating spirit behind this wonderful prize. So thank you very much, Alyssa.